What a beautiful day. Good, and you? Welcome back to New Hampshire Vintage. My name is Wyatt, and today I have here a $300 barn find Alpine. Yeah, little backstory on this. I went to pick up a Arctic Cat cheetah, and you could see that in the Panther Part 2 video I made. Well, while I was there, in the corner of this barn, he was showing me all these like little sleds he had and trucks, and he kind of lived on a farm. And also I saw just the back rack here, and I was like, oh, that's an Alpine. So I asked him, how much he wants for it. He said $400. He hasn't ran it in a while, all that stuff they say. And I offered him $3. He took it, and I only had my 1-ton dump body truck on me, so I asked him if he had a way he could load it up into the truck, and I'll put the video up now. And he's like, yeah, I got something. So he comes out with this big boat forklift, and it was so cool seeing that thing get loaded in the truck, because this thing is heavy. Anyways, it didn't take much to get it running. I did a few cosmetics, a lot of wiring. And if you want to see all that, that'll be in the first part of this video. What I'm doing now is I'm going to actually get gas. There's a gas station about a 30-minute ride from my house. So I figured it's kind of a good test for this old girl. I only brought it to a show, and I only did a quick little ride with it on at another show, or not really a show, it was kind of like a vintage ride in Meredith. So I haven't really put a lot of miles on this girl yet. And yeah, so I kind of want to do like a review, because I'm sure a lot of people haven't driven a single ski dual track Alpine before. So if you want to just see the review, go scroll up to like the second half of the video, and I'm going to do some videos of me riding down the trail, and as well as what I think. I've driven a lot of vintage sleds, and this is a first for me. So I will see you guys in just a few minutes. So yeah, let's rewind time and go back to me actually getting this thing running and riding, and you could actually see what it looks like beforehand. We nicknamed this one Orange Crush because, yeah, that's the sticker that was on the side, so that's what she's going to stay. It has a Skidoo 640 with a sweet gear box. You have reverse, neutral, first, and second. A million switches. Missing the cover panel for all this. Now, just close your eyes now. I know, it's a lot to see. It's a big rat's nest in there of just wires. I think this was a trail groomer like they usually all are, and they just kept adding, as you can kind of see. I mean, I give them props. They use an 8x8, and they throw a light on it, and they strap it down with whatever they have, string, I guess. That battery didn't come with it. That's I just put that on there because I actually got excited last night, and I started messing with the back wiring here. I purposely didn't go through anything on this end. I wanted you guys to go through that with me so I can have this be as genuine as possible. I try not to hide anything from you guys. I'll tell you if I do. So let's take off this hood, which I did have off because I was, excited. I'll just throw this on this project. And yeah, I think that's it. Let me put you guys up on the stand, and we'll get the hood off. So my mic kept cutting in and out, and this was before I got my new one, so I'm going to have to voice over this next couple of clips, which I don't mind doing. I kind of enjoy it. As you can see here, some wires just going nowhere. I ended up finding out that some of them were for the headlight, not all of them. The brakes actually worked really good. That's like one thing on the sled I really didn't have to touch. I actually didn't have to touch a lot of things on this, but those wires go to the heated handlebars, which, spoiler alert, they didn't work. The throttle was a little shoddy. It was loose in a way, but it goes down obviously to the Mikuni Carb there, which we're about to take off in a few minutes. And yeah, you can just see the wiring on the right-hand side there. It was a mess. There's the clutch cover, which was custom made. I'm sure I think a club had this, and they just kind of used what they got laying around or made, whatever, and I respect that. Here's more looks at the wires, how back. You see they're just either cut, unplugged, and you can kind of, if you look where I'm about to point, yep, how a house wire tie, which is pretty funny to see. Rear light bar, and then you can see that kind of white strip on the back of the metal bars there. There's one on each side, and that's like for like under a tailgate of a pickup truck. They light up red because the brake light was wicked dim. Looking back at the dash, looking in here, I already took the spark plug boots off, and the spark plugs, I believe, are loose. Yeah, they were. And so soon we're about to put a compression tester on it. So that's what I was starting to do, but I wanted to do a quick walkthrough of underneath here and just show you guys what I'm working with. So yeah, that's what I had to deal with there. But just take a look at that. More views of the Carb. Just a single for that 640, but it's all it needs. Looking at the front here, you can see the clutches, which actually looked like they were in good shape. Belt was all right. Looking underneath at the bogey wheels, most of them were shot. They needed to be greased, and I should have greased them just to give them a little more life, but I just forgot. You know, this was a lot to take in. I was very excited to have one of these. And yeah, so just showing you some of the bogey wheels. What's cool about these is they're all greasable. The track is rough. It's seen its days, but it was good enough for me to at least drive around the house or take to a few shows or whatnot. I was just going to use it till it ripped or whatever. You can definitely see a lot of dry rot, a lot of mud up in there. But yeah, she was clean though. Otherwise, no rust or anything. Looking more at that 8x8 post, I just thought that was so funny to see. I ended up building a custom-made one just for a few shows out of wood. I wanted to put an actual steel pole with a plate up top and weld it, do it the right way. But for the time I had, I think this was like the night before a show, so I was kind of rushing. There's the million switches. Oh my God. So the one on all the way to the left here, that had just a bunch of grounds tied to it. And I'll give a more in-depth look in just a second or two. Switch did nothing. It just had a bunch of grounds. That I found out was the kill switch. That's the lights, which was weird because it had like two different positions, like a running light, and then you pull it more and you have your headlights like an old vehicle. That's the heated hand grips. You have high and low. And then that's your starter. So this did come with electric start, which I believe worked. I just never had a chance to tie a battery to it. And that button up top did nothing. The seat was just flopped on there. I ended up finding hinges for it, which I'll show in the future. Here's some more wires. Now, these two tied together went to the starter. So instead of one giant wire, they put two together and had them act as one. That wire there goes to the chassis ground. And then that green wire was more grounds, which I guess tied to the ground on the battery. There was two in there. One's kind of hidden in the, there it is, you can see it. Following the green wire, you go all the way up, and there's all the grounds tied to that switch that I was showing earlier. All those were grounds, and it's just like they use it as a junction box for grounds, which was kind of crazy to see. So, yeah, I had my work cut out for me. Now we're going to the gas tank. Looking at that. The guy said he used aviation fuel, so we're going to pump that out once we get the carbs and the ultrasonic cleaner, and while those are being cleaned. So the steering on this thing was super tight, and this is the first vintage I own that didn't have any slop whatsoever, so I was amazed about that. Those were broken, like the ski handles, and I had my buddy weld those, and I wish I recorded it, but I didn't. But anyways, let's go to the carb, and my mic ended up working for that, so I will see you guys in just a little bit. So I'm just going to take the float ball off. I'm not going to go through a whole cleaning process with you guys on this. I already have a video of the citation part 1 and as well as the formula series that go really in depth on how to clean one of these Mikunis. These are very straightforward. They're easy carbs. So I just want to get this bowl off to show you guys underneath, just see how dirty it is. I'm sure you guys are curious. Maybe it's super clean. I don't know. We'll find out. Hi, I'm back. My mic died again, so we're going to take this bowl off, and as you can see, there's a little bit of yellowing in there. It was a little grimy, not too bad. I don't know if aviation fuel, that's what he said he ran in this thing, has ethanol or not. I'm sure you guys can put in the comments if you know any better. I've never used aviation fuel, so I'm not sure. Anyways, we're going to move to taking those floats off, which were just, there was no like little like caps on those rods that they slide onto, so those just came right out. Looking at the jets and the little fork there and moving that around. The gasket came off in all a million pieces of the first Mikuni I took apart in a long time, where the gasket completely ripped in half. I never really have that. So while that was getting cleaned, we are moving on to compression. So I pulled the plugs. I wanted to show you guys each one. So you can see there, it looked all right. Had that, chocolate brown color on them, which usually indicates they're in good shape. If you see the white porcelain in there, they're running lean, or if they're super heavy black, you can see they're running too rich. But anyways, we're going to move over to the compression tester now, and we're going to see what this thing's at. So I'm going to put you guys on the stand, and we are going to give her a few pulls with throttle open. And let's hope this thing has semi-good compression. I know now what it had, but I was hoping at the time, this thing is a little beat, so hopefully it has a little life left in her. So we'll do a couple pulls now. Not bad for the first, second. Yeah, about 120. Maybe I could have got a little more if I did a few more pulls. Yep, there's another one. Yeah, about 120, a little less maybe 115. Not happy with that result, but it is what it is. At least it'll still run at 120. I don't know what these 640s were from spec, like if they were 140 when they were brand new, or if actually 120 is a sign of a healthy motor, because I know the old Polaris's, the Indy 440 that I'm working on, that blue one, 120 is actually right in spec for those motors. Actually, 115 is still a sign of a healthy motor on those. But I don't know much about the Rotexes. So anyways, we're going to move on to the right side cylinder, and we will see what that one's all about. So we're about to give this thing a pull and see. Pray for over 100. That's what I'm going to say. Yeah, getting there. Okay, we're over 120. Yeah, so this one was at, what was that, maybe 125, 130? I guess probably 130. That's pretty good. I think that's healthy for that side. So we at least had one good cylinders. Seemed like a lot of these road Texas, like on Eric's set he's working on now, he has a 399, and his left side cylinder has a little bit less compression than the right. And we picked up a donor engine for that sled, particular set he's working on, and that had the same deal. It was like 10 psi left on the left cylinder, and the right cylinder had about 10 psi more. So I'm not sure. Maybe it's a Skidoo thing. So let's move on to taking the gas out now. So now you can just see me here pumping out the gas, which really wasn't that bad. It didn't smell or anything, and there was plenty of oil in it, but I wanted to get this tank cleared out anyways, because who knows how long this thing was sitting. And I'm just talking about that pump, how much I like it. For anything with a straight up nozzle, it works really good, but obviously anything with bends, you can't get to. And so now I'm just going to get that out of the way, and we're going to move to the in-tank line there. So I'm going to struggle a little bit, as you see, me trying to figure out how to get this thing out of there. And that little cap was siliconed on, so I'm just trying to grab it with pliers and pull it out of the small hole, which I don't know why, looking back at it. I was just being dumb. I managed to grab it, and obviously, you can see I'm still struggling. I decided to play with the silicone for a second. I don't know why. And then I decided to leave out of frame. I don't know where I went. I think I was grabbing something else to help me try to get this thing out. Yep, I'm back. So, screwdriver. I don't know why. That wasn't going to do anything. And then I dropped the whole line into the tank. Then I'm smart, finally for once, and I get a magnet because there's a big metal like bearing or ring tied to it that I think he used to keep it like weighted down. I get that fished out. So now I take that intake line, which actually was still in really good shape, and I put a filter on the end, and I ended up keeping that little metal weight because it actually worked good. So I was just trying to keep the theme with this sled here, and if it isn't broke, don't fix it kind of deal. And now you can just watch me struggle figuring out how to put it back in. I end up taking the tank completely out, draining the rest of the little sediment at the bottom, and getting the line in that way, which I didn't record either. Seems like the theme of this video. So I get all the fuel lines done. They look good. Nothing really special about that. And we're going to move back to the video because my audio decided to work again. All right. Well, it's been a couple days again. We had another ride, so a lot has happened, kind of. Mostly stuff you can't see. So, where do I start? Saw before there was a big open hole. You can see the carburetor and all that. Well, I wanted to find a plastic piece because it didn't come with one. And I ended up, let me see. I ended up buying this Tupperware dish from Walmart, and it was like $5. And I cut out the bottom and it fit perfect, and it even had some nice ribs to it to give it a little bit of a characteristics. It actually looks really good. So yep, that added a little character to her. And then what's next? I got the seat on some nice hinges that I had just laying around. My dad actually gave me those when he was cleaning out his garage when he sold his house, so those worked out pretty good. So now we got it where it's a nice snug fit so she doesn't fly up on you. I got rid of all the little unnecessary stickers besides obviously the orange crush. The front here, so I do have the headlight right here, and it was still working very, very dimly though. So it wasn't doing anything really. So that light used to be right here. So I took out the old light, put a little metal bar right across, and bolted that in, and now that works actually really good. And I think it kind of gives it a cool look. Still trying to find a windshield. That hasn't come around yet, but I'll try to find one eventually. This is just a Chris Craft flag. I thought it was kind of funny because this thing's a boat on the trail. So Might as well kind of fly a little boat flag. I don't know, just kind of my humor. Down here, so when the sled starts up, these tail lights light up, this light lights up, and this thing's all busted up. I got to find a new housing for it. But what I did was I put the wiring from this light, connected it to this light, and then it's just on a little toggle. And so now I can run it to where I don't have to have this light and the blinking light on all the time. I can turn those on and off as I please. But still, this light and this light lights up because it all feeds from one wire. Found out that the hand warmers don't work. There's your kill switch, your start, even though I don't have a battery for it yet. And these are my lights. And this thing runs really, really well. I need a new primer. That's on order. That's the only thing that doesn't really work that well, but yeah, she is cool. For $300, come on. So just a quick little update. I had to put a new filter on. This guy, look, came unglued, and these little white pieces went into the line, into the fuel pump. We just had to take that apart, and there was a bunch of white pieces in there, and then also in the carb. So that was the reason why she would run good, then bog, and not want to start. So let's get her all fixed up, and we're gonna head right back on the trail. Whew. Well, took a little bit, but I made it home. That was definitely an experience. This thing was fighting me almost the whole way. Just a quick little overview of that ride. Leaving the shop here, didn't skip a beat. As soon as I got close to the gas station, luckily I was near a few roads and stuff, so if something really happened, I could have had a buddy come and grab me. But all of a sudden she would just die out, bog, die out, wouldn't want to start. And luckily my buddy's shop, or my buddy's work, is right along the side of the trail, and it's right after that gas station. So I made it there. We took the carb apart, we took the fuel pump apart, and there was little bits of plastic from a fuel filter I threw on. Now it was a brand new fuel filter, but the fuel filter just broke apart. And so now I know not to use that fuel filter. And I think I showed you in the video before what the fuel filter did. And so all little bits and pieces were all in the carb and making it run super lean because it wasn't getting enough fuel to cool it. But either way, this engine's definitely tired. You could tell it just doesn't have the power it used to. I'm sure there's no way this thing, granted I do have 3 5-gallon gas tanks on the back all full, so that's some extra weight. But either way, for a big 640, this thing shouldn't skip a beat, and you could definitely tell it's definitely tired. I think it needs a full rebuild. Anyways, how does it steer? Awful. It steers awful. I hope you enjoyed this episode. There didn't take much for it to get it going, but it does run, and when it wants to run good, it does run good. It's just, it's an old girl. She's tired. I'm sure she's has a million miles on her. Well, I'll definitely see you in a few days. We'll see what we got going on next. I don't even know if she'll fire back up. Oh yeah.